Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Taylor Malmsheimer. It's super nice to be here with you all today. I'm part of the founding team and lead Section 4, which is a business upskilling platform that's getting closer to being in the creator economy, but not quite yet. But I'm super psyched to talk to everyone on this panel here and talk about kind of how the creator economy is changing education today. So have 4 founders with me. I'm going to do really fast intros, and then we're going to bust right into it. So here I've got Candice Faktor, CEO, co-CEO, and co-founder of Disco. Nuseir Yassin, founder and CEO of Nas Academy and Nas Daily. In the middle there, Vaibhav Sisinty, founder and CEO of GrowthSchool. And then at the end there, we've got Gagan, Biyani, CEO and co-founder of Maven. So going to get right into it. And I'd love to actually start, guys, and really kind of define creators and the creator economy. And specifically, would love to kind of talk about who are creators and what type of creator really makes a good teacher. Is there a type of creator that you think makes a good teacher? So maybe, Nuseir, I'll start with you.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
oh my God.
I'm going to throw you into the deep end here.
Okay, I disagree. Okay, let's start with that, guys, because the whole point of today is not to agree. Okay, you don't want people congratulating themselves on starting companies. Okay, so let's try as much as possible not to.
The theme of our panel.
Yes. So what is a creator? Well, in my opinion, anybody is a creator, and it is a little bit controversial. Anybody is a creator. Anybody who creates something from 0 to 1, in my opinion, is a creator. That involves my mother. She created me from 0 to 1. That involves teachers. That involves inventors and people who create videos from 0 to 1. Music, pictures. So it's a very wide definition, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But does anybody want to disagree?
I think it's a bad thing.
Wow.
I think the purpose of language is to create ideas in someone's head, and I think that is it's counterproductive to just have such a wide definition. So my definition of a creator, I'll go super narrow, but I agree that it includes some of the people you're talking about, which is 99%.
Does it include
everyone.
my mom?
So I don't think it does. I would guess.
But why not?
It doesn't include your mom because the context here we're talking about is the creator economy. And we're trying to talk about people who are actually in some ways trying to build an audience or make a living on the internet. And I think if maybe your mom does that. I mean, certainly I'm sure she could if she wanted to. But like the point is that in order for us to actually have any productive conversation from here on out, we have to agree on some limited definition of the scope.
Would you call Candice a creator? Because she created a company. She's not creating social media followers, but she's created a company.
I mean, Candice has a good social media following. So in that sense, she doubles as a creator and as a CEO. However, her primary job is definitely not being a creator. In my opinion, Candice's primary job is to be a founder, which has a different definition.
Candice, what do you think?
I politely, because I'm Canadian, disagree.
Yes.
I think it depends on the purpose of the question and sort of what decisions are being made as a result of the question. I can see sort of in the middle, actually what's so interesting about this time and why the creator economy grew is because anybody today can be a creator. So my previous company before I built Disco was Wattpad, where we had over 100 million creators, reading and writing stories on their mobile phone. Now, that being said, are all creators great teachers, and are all creators going to be able to monetize their following in the way that sort of Maven is sort of working or Disco is working? The answer is absolutely not. And so, let's maybe focus on those 2 elements. At Disco, we're really interested in what we call knowledge creators, not because there aren't amazing other kinds of entertainment creators, et cetera, but these are people that we want to learn with and from, and these are people who want to impart wisdom and knowledge. And then the second part are these knowledge creators great teachers where people are willing to pay them to actually impart this knowledge? So that's our way of thinking about it.
Do you think willingness to pay them defines a good teacher? Because there are lots of people who would pay for someone to teach and then go to their class and think it's terrible, no?
Yes and no. So I would say willingness to pay is whether or not these knowledge creators are going to be able to make a business out of their knowledge and their offering, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a great teacher because people are willing to pay you. In fact, I think brand is very, very important in the creator economy, and that's why, you really need to have a certain level of IP authority and audience in order to commercialize a following.
So Candice, you just talked about the following piece, right? Like, do you guys think that having some level of followers is a qualifier, basically, for being a creator in the context of education today? Go ahead, Vaibhav.
Yeah, so I think the kind of creators that we're talking about here are not like creators, but edu creators of some sorts. And when it comes to edu creators, I think the biggest qualification comes down to the fact that what is their why more than anything else. And that why, if it is directly correlational to the money that they make, then it's a red flag. If it's correlation, if the reason why they're doing it is, absolutely the why actually makes a lot of sense. And once we have figured out the why, I think everything will come together. Coming to the following, right? Like, is an edu creator needs to have a following? Well, if they have a following, it's great because they can drive the top of funnel for you or the audiences for them, the distribution for them. But clearly, most of the great edu creators don't have a following. Think about it, right? Like, let's say you're talking about, I'm going to go into a very boring topic, right? Systems design, right? On how to build scalable systems. The best person to probably teach you that is probably a guy who headed system designs at Uber, Google, Amazon, and the kind of tech that you want to scale at. And he is probably a decent teacher, someone who can put it out there, but he has got 150 followers. But he could be a great teacher. So that's my take there. We have to enable them.
I actually agree with that. We noticed at Nas Academy, finally. At Nas Academy, we saw like people with 20 million followers and inability to sell. But one of the highest sellers in Nas Academy has 30,000 followers. Right, so actually the correlation between number of followers and ability to monetize knowledge is close to zero in my book.
So what do you think it is about that 30,000, about that person that's, is it the topic? Like, what about it?
Yeah, it's basically what he said, like somebody going deep into something. They're so busy understanding something deeply that they have no time to edit a video and post it on TikTok.
Yeah. Makes sense. Gagan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think that I would agree that follower count is not connected necessarily. I think zero is a very aggressive statement considering you only work with creators who have a following. So you're already at like 10,000
Thank you for keeping me in check. Okay, 0.1.
A little off. But yes, let's say it's a 0.8 or 0.7 correlation. So a loose one. I would say that the only other category is if you are a creator, if you're the Amazon, you worked at Amazon and Facebook and Google and did systems thinking, you may not currently be a creator prior to starting an education venture. However, if you start teaching, you will immediately become a creator. And so there's sort of this thing where if you are credible in a space and you start showing up on the internet and start telling people, hey, I know what I'm doing, it's amazing how quickly you can go from 0 to 60, and why I think one of the big mistakes that people make in education when entering an education business on the internet is that they assume that they need an existing online following. But actually, you don't need an existing online following. You can start, we have lots of creators on Maven who started with almost no following, but had serious expertise, and then they built the following at the same time, like while they're building their course, but more importantly, their course dramatically outstrips the follower count at that point.
So they talked about this a little bit on the last panel that Candice was on, but because you brought it up, Gagan, I'd love to talk about what the value proposition, because all of you work with creators and you have your own companies, obviously, that are building courses for creators. So what do you think that value proposition is? And I think maybe thinking about it through the lens of driving distribution, monetization, and then creation, actually creating the content. And so maybe Candice will start here and kind of we'd love to hear you talk about that.
So at Disco, we actually have two different products. We have something called Disco, our SaaS product. And really what we're doing is making it very, very easy for you to launch a series, like not just courses. Like we're very much not a course platform, a series of live learning experiences from free events, to paid masterminds, to fully blown cohort-based courses, to alumni communities, and it's a SaaS product. You own it, you own your data, you own your brand, you own your revenue, and we just are purpose-built. We make it super easy for you to do all the things you need to do. Create the products, market the products, have a beautiful learner experience, and scale them, like be able to easily clone them, etc. So that's really helpful, but it doesn't solve the top of funnel marketing problem. And so I actually disagree with Gagan. I think it is really, really hard for people who don't have some brand, some IP authority or audience to monetize, like at a very high level, a live learning business. On the studio side, we actually, a very different model. We work with thought leaders and creators like Adam Davidson, the founder of Planet Money, is one of our creators. He runs a storytelling course. Margaret Atwood, actually, I'm doing a wonderful keynote with her on her live learning experience. And these are people who have 2 million followers, right, and brilliant IP, but they do not have the time, or actually the knowledge to design, community-driven live learning experiences, but people are dying. Like we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are going to participate in her, solving humanity's biggest challenges live learning experience. So, just to your point, like I think it depends on what you need as a knowledge creator, but that's our value prop is full service and then just SaaS.
Very interesting. So actually, I think you'll see a slight divide in the panel between the way we're building our companies. Right? I think Vaibhav and I are building our companies in a very similar way, while you guys are building SaaS products, right? So if you want to enable creators to grow, you can give them the technology tools, and they're on their own. Their success is theirs, and their failure is theirs. Our hypothesis, our bet, and I think it's your bet too, is
I disagree. Just kidding.
You actually do agree. Our bet is that technology will become a commodity. Nobody cares about technology products because it's a race to the bottom. You'll charge $20 a month and 5%. Next year, somebody will make a better product. You'll have to charge $10 a month, then $5 a month. Eventually, you'll be giving it away for free. Right? So we think that the number one thing that will always be in demand is distribution. If you can give a creator more distribution than they already can get by themselves, then you are a generational business. That's why we want NAS Academy to be the destination. So if you teach on the platform of NAS Academy, not only do you bring some of the creators yourself, some of the students yourselves, but also NAS Academy helps you with discoverability, just like Airbnb does, just like Udemy does, right? So we're big fans of helping distribution because it's the number one biggest issue facing creators from small to big.
Yeah, I wanted to say I disagree, but I can't. So I think, if we take a couple of steps back, right, there is this feeling of these creators, a lot of creators, who don't want to sell. Right? When you are selling a program of yours, it could be, again, right? I have this big debate on cohort-based courses being the future or metaverse being the future. I find them all to be formats. One will come in, one will go away. What will stick is the value that you provide, right? As long as that's fundamentally there, it's going to be there. But going back, right, when we actually think about, creators, a lot of people that we speak with today don't want to say that this is my course, this is my program. What they actually are comfortable with is, this is GrowthSchool's program where I'm participating in, where I'm enabling people with, right? It could be multiple reasons, or we could be tapping into the kind of people that are not okay to put themselves out there. So in that case, the whole ecosystem that we are trying to build helps. The moment you come with that mindset, even if you have a distribution, to get in 100 butts on seats, you have to put in 10 freaking posts over the course of next 30 days.
It's a lot.
And your audience might find it super salesy, and they will. How do you solve that? Number two, let's say you're running a program on video editing. You're exceptionally good at video editing. The next thing that the same audience actually want is how to, let's say, put that content out there on 5 different social medias, which you're not an expert at. The lifetime value of a customer that you bring in is actually capped to the potential of you being a teacher when you own your own audience. So if you could find a middle ground of this where, hey, you know what? If you drive an audience of yours, we co-own it. Will that work? Or if you say that if you really want to own your audience, great. Take it, but the audience that we give you is something that we own. There could be multiple models. Have we figured it out at GrowthSchool? Probably not. That's exactly why I'm still in seed stage company.
And why you're sitting here and not stage X.
But as we figure it out, I think we'll probably get a few answers to this. So that's our take.
Amazing.
Gagan, what do you think?
I think most of the useful commentary has been said. Most of my thoughts on this subject date back to when we started Udemy in 2009 and watching the online learning landscape throughout the last decade plus. And the lesson is that every model works. So if we're all right about cohort-based courses, then I would say that we have that's the biggest risk point of this entire system here. There were companies like Teachable and Kajabi that got to, and I don't know Teachable's valuation, but Kajabi's certainly over $1 billion in value. And I think Teachable could easily be argued to be similar. And then Udemy, of course, Coursera, Udacity, Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learning, and a whole bunch of other companies that all became over $1 billion in market cap off of the last era of online learning. And I would argue it's like amazing because of how kind of shit the product is really at the end of the day. Like, I mean, I could hate on every single one of those companies and what they actually offer to people. So the thing that I think is interesting is that cohort-based courses, to me, dramatically increase the quality of the learning outcomes, and that's something I'm really excited about. And what Maven provides is we are the most knowledgeable place on the planet to help you run and operate your own cohort-based course company. I think we have the best people. My co-founder, Wes, literally founded the movement. I invented and the two of us invented the term cohort-based courses. We also have the largest group of creators who are on the platform right now. And from what I know, I don't know everyone's numbers. And I think that ultimately what you want as a creator, if you're building a course business, is you want a combination of the factors that everyone has talked about. So you, of course, want some level of distribution. And absolutely, Maven will help with that. You also want some level of ownership, which is something that you don't get if you share all of your list with the platform. And so Maven provides some of that. The other thing we provide is best-in-class technology, and this is where I will strongly disagree with Nuseir. There's trillions of dollars of market cap in companies that have built the best version of whatever software application they need. And cohort-based courses are extremely complex organisms. Yeah. There's at least 7 to 10 different pieces of software that someone has to use today in order to build a cohort-based course. And I was just talking to a cohort-based course creator earlier today, and the reality is that stitching all of the software together takes tons of hours of effort, and for the student, it's a terrible experience. They're switching from your community platform, let's say it's Slack, and then when they want to figure out what the curriculum is, they have to go to another platform. And then when they figure out what's going on this week, they have to check their email. And then when they want to watch videos of the recordings of anything that you've done, they then have to go to Teachable. And so at the end of the problem is, first of all, it's just a pain in the ass to have 8 different softwares when you're selling one course. But the second problem with it is there's no opportunities for building on top of that. So now if I meet someone in a breakout room in a Zoom session, that connection is gone, because it is disconnected from the asynchronous Slack experience. So what Maven is building is an all-in-one suite of software that is going to connect all of these things and deliver the best learning experience possible.
I relate a lot. That sounded like the beginning of Section 4 with 8 different platforms. But I want to go back to, because we have talked a lot about Cohort, and Vaibhav, you just said maybe that's not the future. How do you think about that versus, I know you guys offer other solutions as well.
I really thought I should not be saying that, but I still did. Anyway, so here's my take, right? When we think about cohort-based courses, Gagan coined the term. Before that, I was running cohort-based courses, but I didn't know it was called cohort-based courses till they said it.
Same.
So that was the case. But I think I find CBCs to be a format, right? MOOCs were a format. I mean, Udemy mastered it, right? There's a hybrid format which we run, where not everything is live, because our thesis is that I mean, if Nuseir teaches how to do storytelling, if Nuseir is spending 12 hours every 2 months to teach the same thing over and over and over again, how long is he going to do that? But anything that's evergreen, which is the basics of storytelling, could be something that could be on demand, and that's hybrid, and that's what we do at GrowthSchool today, right? There are companies which are building metaverses of the world, right? Like a very good friend of mine runs it, where you're learning in a metaverse. So that's cohort-based plus. I don't know what it is. And 3 years later, or 5 years later, or 10 years later, we'll have a new format. In the end, what are you sticking to? Why are you coming for? You're coming for an outcome. You're coming to learn. You're coming for access. As long as those things are being solved for, the format actually doesn't matter. And a model like a cohort-based course doesn't fit into everything that we create. For example, I want to teach people how to write great ad copies on a Facebook ad. That'll take me an hour to teach max. And do I really have to come online, come at a set of time to listen to the same thing? And does the creator has to do it 12 times in a year if he wants to run 12 cohorts? I don't know. Maybe a part of Q&A could be the live part. But sorry for sparking the fire.
Yeah. I just want to say, I really agree with what you're saying. And it's actually how we think about it at Disco as well, is a live learning experience, what we call live learning empire, is more than a cohort-based course. Like what we're noticing and seeing is that something happened, which was 300 million people were taught during the pandemic that they can be live together virtually. And what it allowed for is a transformative learning experience that was not possible in the Udemy MOOC days, which was a consumption experience. I was alone and I was consuming things. The big shift was this idea that I could be with people learning things and actually have a transformative experience. And so cohort-based courses are just one of a series of really amazing social and live experiences that you can offer. And so Disco, we actually offer a series of live learning experiences like masterminds, challenges, free events, paid workshops, alumni communities, memberships, because you actually want to merchandise and monetize against a variety of different offerings, depending on where your customers are in their journey of working with you. And I say, we're in the flip phone stage of learning metaverses. This is V1, and Disco would enable V2 and V3 and V4, but the concept of it being community-driven and having some asynchronous, some live, is the game changer, I think, for this next wave of really, really powerful learning platforms.
So actually, I may disagree with a little bit of what you said, just for the fun of it. We actually started NAS Academy as 100% live teaching. The whole theory was that, look, live is just better for completion rates. Completion rates were 90%, 95%. But what ended up happening is the creators taught live 2, 3, 4 times, and then they got tired.
Oh.
We're
not just live. It's asynchronous, lots of evergreen. There's asynchronous chat, there's evergreen content,
makes sense.
there's live. So it's a hybrid.
So I think this is general talking about just the live aspect of teaching. It's good in theory, but at some point, if you want to get the best teachers in the world, their opportunity cost is so damn high that every student has to pay $10,000 to be with them for 1 hour. So there's a problem with the economics there as well with purely live for creators. So what we ended up doing is we shifted to entirely on demand, so you get the video files, but the video files themselves run in cohorts. So every 100 people that buy the video files are in the same WhatsApp group, and then they have a teaching assistant on top of that to be able to make sure people meet each other, and then you just consume the videos yourself. So it's a scalable cohort-based model where you still have the community element as part of it. And that took us 12 different iterations to get to this model, because 100% live is a problem, 100% on demand is also a problem, so you need that hybrid.
Okay, I want to shift gears because I want to get to this question because I think we're going to be a little split as well. So traditionally, education has had a pretty high rigor kind of quality bar, right? But you all, or lots of you, I think, talk about yourselves as platforms. So I'd love to hear if you feel like you have a responsibility to vet creators, if you'll say no to a creator coming on your platform, or if it's kind of open season. If someone wants to work with you, they can. Maybe start with you, Gagan.
Sure. I mean, my reason for getting into education is because I believe education is too elitist. So fundamentally, my problem with, I went to Harvard or I went to UC Berkeley or whatever, is this idea that if you have a certain set of credentials or if you follow a certain path within the society, you are rewarded by having continued entrenched interests protect your continued future success. So Maven's main reason and Udemy's main reason for existing is to provide an alternative, a world that is more meritocratic. It's by no means a true meritocracy, let's be clear, but it is far more meritocratic. The best instructor on Maven doesn't have to have a college degree. And the only way to truly tap into that is to have a somewhat open platform. So I don't believe in allowing spam or, someone who's teaching subjects around bomb making or something like that. But aside from some very basic controls, Maven's goal is not to be a gatekeeper. And I would take significant issue with the modern landscape where social networks have become gatekeepers and other folks. I think Maven is very much going to be on the path of, we allow people to prove through their course whether or not they are worthy of teaching.
Gagan,
and
there's a
not
problem
try
with this.
to decide beforehand.
There's a problem with this, which is if you allow by the way, education industry is the biggest scam industry, right? The word courses, knowledge. Does anybody know Knowledge by Tai Lopez? Education is oftentimes used as a way to scam. Take this course, I'll teach you how to invest, and you'll get 5x returns in 1 week. Just give me $5,000. So there's a fundamental problem with allowing every single person to teach, because you will end up with bad actors. So I think a lot of people actually use Teachable and Kajabi and Thinkific to go sell scam. Now, do we want to enable that? That's why you need some filtration, because actually not everybody should teach, and not everybody should say whatever the hell they want. Maybe I live in Asia too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, but then why are you, Nuseir, the best person to decide who is a scam and who is real? I think some level of that makes sense, but I think you're kidding yourself if you know it at scale. Now, of course, if you met every instructor, I'd take courses that Nuseir says yes to and courses that Nuseir says no to. But when you have thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of courses, do you really think you're going to be able to do a good job of filtering who's successful? My answer is no. Instead, what we'll do is we'll incentivize success. So instead of trying to filter on the front end, hey, you can teach, you can't teach, you can teach, you can't teach, Maven is going to create metrics that ensure that if you have high ratings, maybe your first course you have to sell on your own. And then your second course, we check the ratings, which are our objective measure for whether or not you're successful as an instructor, and your completion rates, et cetera, and then we surface those to the marketplace of Maven. And so I just think it's kind of lazy to say that, you have to get rid of scams, because the question is, how will you do that? And my answer is you get rid of scams by looking at what students say and share that out with your audience.
What are you doing? Go ahead.
I think there is no right or wrong answer here, right? Coming to scams, I think there are specialized companies working towards it, so I don't think scams are coming our way anytime soon, is what I feel. But with that being said, right, in the space that we are in, right, I think depends on what the company. If you're a SaaS, you have to pretty much cater to most of the brands out there, or most of the people out there, right? But I'm gonna talk about GrowthSchool and how we go about it, right? Right now, as a brand, we're trying to position a way that people, when they know that there's a program hosted at GrowthSchool, that they know that it has to be one of the best. It has to be from people who know their shit, pardon my French, right? Because that is an image that we're trying to live up to. We say learn from the top 1%, that's on the learner side. We have an image to live up to. We have to make sure that we're getting the best people in there. And when we say to get the best people in there, it's not about the following that they have, it's not about the degrees that they have, it's about the knowledge that they have and the potential to actually teach, right? The few factors that we look at it, and if people cut into it, then they are in. For example, we have a wait list of more than 7,000 people right now who want to teach at GrowthSchool. And today we have 45 programs. Right? So that's how we're going about it. So yeah.
What about at Disco?
So I'm much more aligned with these two. I think what I've learned, at Wattpad, it was a platform for anybody to read and write stories. I helped scale this platform to 100 million users, and I understand how important moderation and community building and management is. And so, one of the things I think about is it's a tremendous privilege and honor to be able to create a platform. And also, it's a tremendous responsibility. And especially when it comes to learning and education, I don't take that lightly. And so for us, we actually think that who is the first people in a community has a very, very big impact on who is going to join your community later on, and what behaviors you promote and allow and sort of align for will determine how people will use your platform going forward. So we're just mindful of that, and we're very intentional, and we like to bring the world's most impressive and best knowledge creators and schools to the platform. That being said, we're very mindful also to not bring our bias to the platform. So I think you can have both. I think you need to have very, very strong community moderation tools. You need to have the ability for people to flag if there is fake content or if there's content that's harmful, and you can't take this lightly. I actually think, I come from South Africa, and there's a wonderful quote which says, Nelson Mandela said, "The greatest weapon of our time is education." And it's both in the most positive sense. The greatest weapon of our time is education. And oh yeah, the greatest weapon of our time is education. It's what you're putting in people's minds. And so I just think that's incredibly important to think about in our roles as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys, because we also do a lot of curation, but I want to take Gagan's side for a sec, because he said how his company will define who the best creators are through reviews, ratings, things like that. How are you guys? What is your kind of, I guess, vetting process? Like, what makes you the right people to say who is the best creator for a certain topic, let's say?
Love the question. Just one comment real quick. I think if you look at our homepage, we've been as intentional as anyone else here about who's the first set of creators on the platform. So let's get our facts straight, which is go to maven.com and check out who's on the site. And I'm pretty sure we have some of the best people on the internet, certainly on Twitter, which is our starting point, teaching on Maven. So we were intentional to begin with. It's a question about where we're going. And I believe that we want to unlock more and more possibility for more instructors. And I'm certainly interested to hear what other people view as their 5-year from now strategy, because everyone here has a similar first-year strategy.
Sure. Yep.
Look, I think we're all in agreement on one thing. The student rating matters, right? You look at the student rating. If it's below 9, problem. If it's above 9, continue. The student decides if a course is good or not. Actually, it's not you, it's not you, it's not you, it's not me, right? So we have that automated system. Anybody gives rating below 7, we talk to them in 24 hours, yada, 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 right? I think the fundamental difference here is that, are we going to allow our technology to be used for scam or for bad stuff, right? We are saying, no, get out of my platform. You are saying, everybody can use it, even for scam, but I'm only going to give distribution to the ones that are good.
Yeah, Nuseir, that's exactly what I was saying.
That's what you're implying.
A completely ridiculous statement, and you know it.
Yeah, am I right or wrong?
Sarah, I have a question for you. How many dollars have you been scammed for so far?
None. But Ty Lopez, I see him all the time growing up, teaching me knowledge, how to buy a Lamborghini. That's education. Education is a very scammy industry. Mm-hmm. Oops. Wrong audience.
Disagreement. Okay. We're getting close. Okay, so let's end actually with a question about 5 years from now. So I'd love to just hear what you guys think is kind of the next frontier of the creator economy. Are there certain markets, regions, categories? Is it about the metaverse, Web3? Where is the creator economy going to be? Will it exist in 5 years? Candice, go for it.
I don't think it's going away. I think, I do think the next iteration of the creator economy is co-creating with your community really interesting products and services and experiences. And I think what's happened is we sort of went through this trajectory of, why we built Disco as a platform versus a marketplace where we take a pretty big rake was because of what I learned at Wattpad. I just saw that creators were like tired of sort of the platforms taking all of the value and not giving them the value, right? So the next step was, platforms that actually allow creators to keep the value. And then I think the next step, so they wanted ownership. And then I think the next step beyond that is co-created ownership of their community and the creator, because what's happening now is a lot of the creators' audience who is referring and doing a lot of the work and being a part of that are saying, hey, what about me? How do I, benefit from being a part of this movement, a part of the peer-led learning experience, a part of the community? We're seeing that with NFTs. Like, we're actually launching NFT certificates on Disco for this purpose that actually give value and access to the communities that are learning with the creators. So I just see an evolution of co-creation and sharing of ownership and value between the creators and the communities that they're building.
Awesome. We actually have NFT certificates too.
So do we.
I was about to say everybody does now.
Okay, I'll keep mine short. What's next for the creator economy? We need a billionaire creator. That's what's next. Creators create so much goddamn value, and they get so little goddamn value out of it. I have 48 million followers on the internet. I can barely afford to hire and actually build a business. Barely. Like, we make nothing.
Exactly.
On every...
What? Hold on. Two questions. First question. You said your mom counts as a creator, so anyone who's an entrepreneur is a creator, correct?
Yes.
So you think no creators have become billionaires? What about Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey,
Elon
Musk?
Great. Yeah, keep it up, amazing. I actually think only one person, actually two people have managed to go from, they went from creator to entrepreneur, like social media creator to entrepreneur. Only Jack Conte from Patreon and Baiju, who's going to be speaking. Those are the only two people who built billion-dollar businesses while being creators first.
Wait, what about Jessica Alba?
Okay, bro, there's like four of them.
There's a lot more. What about the founder of Ipsy?
But actually, what I mean by a billionaire creator, like a social media comes out of not from stock ownership in a publicly traded company, the boring way, but actually from generating so much value and getting value in return, communities, through crypto, through whatever.
That's exactly why, right? It doesn't work. Like, those ad-based marketplaces
Yes.
are why, we've led to creators want to own their brand, their data, their customers. You don't do that with your 48.
No, I don't own. I own 0.01%.
You should have built that on
Maven.
on Maven or Disco. There you go.
I think we are confusing ourselves with creators who create content on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, to edu creators here. I feel while there's some part of it which has a common share to it, majority of it are people who are not YouTube content creators per se. Right? Just wanted to keep that off the bat. The moment we have this basic level of understanding, I think a lot of conversations would kind of get streamlined with mom being creators. But I mean, coming back to the question of the future, right? I mean, the future might hold a lot of things, right? Like NFTs, Web3, Metaverse. But I think fundamentally where we are heading, or ideally where I see the world heading, is edu creators, or practitioners is a better word I would like to use, leading the face of education rather than a degree. It could get a little controversial. Again, when I say degrees, I'm not talking about a Harvard or a Stanford. 99% people don't go there, right? What about the rest? The creators are going to lead the way for them. The creators are going to get the outcomes for them. The edu creators, the practitioners are going to get for them. And the real future is the transition of a mindset of a learner to say, hey, it's okay not to get a random degree from a random college, rather go learn from a practitioner, believe in proof of work, and get that freaking job.
I agree.
Yeah, I love that. I completely agree. I think the future, let's just talk about the creator economy as it meets education. The future is that over the next decade, we will be more likely as employers to care about what you know than how you learned it. And if that's true, then there will be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of creators out there making a living teaching 100 students a quarter, 500 students a quarter, a very specific job that they want to learn. And in that time period, those creators will make full-time livings. Some of them will become billionaires maybe. And the mass population of people out there will be able to get more access to knowledge than they ever did before.
I 100% agree with that. We say, show your work, not your certificate. Okay, we got to wrap. I'm getting the signal. So we didn't get to questions. I'm just going to volunteer all these lovely people. They're going to be outside afterwards if you want to chat with them. But let's give them all a big round of applause and thank you.